even though your career is a financial advisor, you call yourself an engineer. So tell me a little bit about that.
I think it goes back to sort of elementary school, and I was actually really ticked off about this as a kid because I wanted to be, I wanted to be an athlete, and I thought I was the best athlete in the school. And we had at the end of sixth grade, as you're about to go to junior high, this is, again back in Pittsburgh at Saxonburg. Everybody had to vote. You had to vote, and they had all these different sort of categories. Where you're the most artistic or most outgoing or class clown or whatever. And there were two categories that I thought I was a shoe in to win. One was most athletic, and the other was most likely to succeed. And so I was voted most likely to succeed, but some other kid, I argue that they gave it to him, but I think I was probably voted most athletic as well, but I didn't get that one. So the sort of the most likely to succeed thing, I don't know if I took that to heart or what. I have this massive amount of procrastination and lack of desire, I put in such a massive lack of effort into education. I didn't have an interest in it. When I showed up at class, I just figure stuff out. If I had a test, I didn't feel the need to study, I would just figure it out. And so I was always good at math, but yet I could still, my reading, I always felt like my reading comprehension was good, and I didn't like to read. I read very slowly. I read in my head, I read the same speed as I do if I'm reading out loud. So that's part of the reason why I like forums and little tidbits of information, car forums and magazine articles and things like that, because I don't have to read a whole novel, because I give up on that. I get bored. So when I fast forward to high school, I just knew that I was somewhat smart, but also knew that I was kind of lazy. I didn't know what it was to study, and my parents kind of let me go on that stuff because they knew that I was getting A's and B's, and it wasn't really a problem. I feel like I could have done significantly better, but I felt like I was doing enough to get by, and I knew that I couldn't be a doctor because I'd pass out when I go to the doctor. I'm just scared of blood and squeamish of that kind of stuff. I knew I couldn't be a lawyer because I read too slowly. So for some reason, being an engineer just seemed right. It just seemed like the next hardest thing, which is weird because you would think I would have chosen the easiest thing because I was such a procrastinator and kind of lazy when it came to schoolwork. I wasn't lazy at all when it came to working. I worked at the community where we lived. I was a janitor, a maintenance guy, so cleaning toilets, and I wanted to be the best darn toilet cleaner you've ever seen. I wanted to leave them as clean as possible. I would, when I was taking the trash out, I wanted to do it as quickly and as efficiently as possible. And I wanted to work as many hours as I could because I could sort of see the dollar signs. And learn from my parents that the only way to generate income is to work your tail off. So I was more interested in working than I was in learning, but I knew that I had to take the hard route. I just knew for some reason, it wasn't a conscious effort, but I just knew that, okay, our school switched to intensive scheduling where we would end class or end a course at the semester. So you could take, where in the past you could only take Calc 1 in your sophomore year, and then you have to take Calc 2 in your junior year. I could take Calc 1 and 2 in the same year. I could take a class called Advanced Engineering, which was like Physics 3. I could take Physics 1 and 2 in the same year. So I would go to the guidance counselor and say, look, I want to take, because you would choose biology or chemistry. I was like, I want to take both. Even though I didn't want to study for it, I didn't want to actually do the work. I want to take both. Why can't I do both? So I think that's part of that's always been my MO. Is I have always tried to take the hard route, always reaching, always trying to pick the next biggest thing. And being an engineer to me was what I thought I should do. My uncle, who was sort of the family, the family success, went to the Navy, and he was a mechanical engineer, and so engineering just seemed right for me. I didn't realize at the time that I am wired like an engineer. I mean, it was crystal clear. I shouldn't have taken any other path. So, in high school, I'm cleaning toilets, doing maintenance, weed whacking, doing sort of jack of all trades in my community. Eventually got a job as a cart pusher at Walmart, and I was doing those both at the same time. And I had this desire to just to learn about electronics. For some reason, I love computers. And so this is 96, 97, 98. I graduated high school in 98. So this was sort of the evolution of we started with a 386 Max, and we sort of worked our way up to like a gigahertz processor, and so I was so interested on what did it cost to configure a computer, with the best video card and the fastest processor, and how much RAM could I put in, and what would a DVD-ROM drive cost over a CD-ROM drive. And I'd always be sort of constructing these in my head by reading like J&R Music World. I was interested in audio receivers. DVD was coming out. I wanted a DVD player. So I was really interested in all this stuff. So I decided late in my junior year that I wanted to become a computer engineer. And the problem I had is that, like my SATs, I just showed up to take them. While everybody else was preparing them, taking prep courses, studying, I just showed up to take the thing. I think I got like 1190 or something, 1200, something like that. So I did okay, but I like to think I was smarter than that. Maybe I'm not. So when it came time to apply to college, I knew I wanted to be an engineer. And so I decided I'm going to apply as a computer engineer, and I'm going to try to apply to specific engineering schools. And so I had Pitt, Penn State, Maryland. For some reason, I liked Maryland a lot. I liked the Maryland Terrapin basketball team. I had a Maryland jacket. For some reason, I don't know why. Actually, I think I do know why. It's because the first time I'd seen the ocean, I went with my best friend Joe. His family went to the ocean. I went there, and it was Ocean City, Maryland, and so that was like my only vacation in life. So I think that I liked Maryland because of that, and I liked the jacket and the way it looked. And so I applied to Maryland. I applied to Bucknell, Lehigh, and then Villanova was my long shot. I wanted to go to Villanova. It was a Catholic school, and to me, rich people were Catholic. And I love the basketball team. I love the colors of the school, and I love the fact that it was in the rich area of Philadelphia. I thought that if you went to the rich area, that eventually you'd come out rich. And so when I showed up and applied to all these schools, I didn't get into Lehigh, but I got into all the other schools. I got into Pitt like right away. Pitt was my first choice if I didn't get into Villanova. Villanova would sort of tell you later, and I knew it was a long shot because my grades, I was in the top, say, 10% of my class. But my grades, I don't know what I had. I got 3.6 or something like that, 3.5, 3.6, 3.7, and so I wasn't exceptional. But I thought I'd done enough. Or the grades showed. I knew I didn't do enough, but my grades showed, and my coursework that I took, taking all this calculus and calculus 1, 2, 3, physics 1, 2, 3, advanced engineering, all these different more sophisticated, more difficult, bio 1, 2, chemistry 1, 2, 3, taking all these classes that most other people didn't have, I think sort of helped set me apart. And I would take a lot of honors courses and stuff like that. So. Villanova was the long shot. I didn't know how we were going to afford Villanova. I knew it was about $30,000 a year. Pitt was like $5 or something like that. But I wanted to go there, and I was sort of resigned to the fact, all right, I'm going to Pitt, and then Villanova's letter came, and I was accepted. So that meant it was time to go visit schools. So, normal people would go, and normal kids would want to go and visit the schools before they apply. I just knew where I wanted to go. And then I didn't, somebody said, the guidance counselor, like, you have to go see these schools. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, let's go do it. So I went and visited Pitt, loved it, and like, I'm going here. And then we went to Villanova. I was just awestruck. So Candidates Day was incredible, and we signed the letters right then and there, and I don't know how we figured out how to pay for it, and my parents paid a big chunk per year, and then I came out with student loans. I think I owed about $60,000, $59,000, something like that. But when I got there, I knew I was going to be an engineer. There was never a question in my mind that I'm going to take it's going to take me 5 years to get through school, even though I really didn't have any plans of how I was going to study or anything like that. I just assumed that I'd just show up like I did in high school, and I'm going to get A's and B's, and everything will be great. And so I started out as a computer engineer, and by this time I'd really started to get into home theater. Even though I didn't have any of it, I was into the idea of having a home theater receiver and a DVD player, and I had like a 27-inch Sony TV, and I was really into car audio. So I decided very quickly once I got to Villanova that I would be an electrical engineer, because electronics were much more interesting to me. So that I'm organized. Math is easier for me than literature. I feel like part of the reason why I became a financial advisor, was a little circumstance, and I'll retell that story. But I'm not smart enough or driven enough from an educational perspective to be a good engineer. I'm probably just not smart enough. But I have enough of both sort of normal, outgoing, and then introverted engineer type, and it just sort of fits me well to get into sort of the financial planning business, if you will. So despite being an engineer type, I've sort of, because I'm sort of a mediocre engineer, I think it makes me sort of an exceptional business owner. I think that the smartest engineers are blessed with massive intelligence, but they're not blessed with enough, I guess you could say, charisma or ability to interact. Even though I struggle with that, if I was the typical sort of MIT engineer grad, I think that those people a lot of times aren't blessed with both sides of the brain. So it took me a while to sort of figure this out, and it sort of happened. I wasn't quite as intentional as I would like to think I was, but I just sort of took the route that I believe to be the hardest, that fit me the best, and so I'm an engineer at heart. I now know that. If I would have known that then, I probably would be working for a car manufacturer, or been a mechanical engineer, or be working for. I would have tried harder in school and got better grades to try to become an actual engineer. I'm not complaining, but that's sort of how I got to being in financial services while being an engineer at heart. So the Villanova story, showing up at Villanova was the greatest experience, one of the greatest experiences of my life, and what I did to get there just sort of made sense. And now as I look back, sort of the stepping stones makes a lot of sense.